There are no laws here currently to protect the child in Trinidad and Tobago, a place where children seem to be under siege. Thousands of children to fall through the open cracks of no protection legislation. Let me tell you a story about an 8-year-old girl named Hope. She was born on December 15th, 1999, to Ronald Arismandez and Sherma Rajun. Her mother was having complications during her pregnancy and her labor. It was an emotional time, to say the least. When the beautiful baby girl was born, she was a miracle. Sherma referred to her as her miracle baby. The nurses told her that she should name her baby girl Hope, Faith, or Love. She decided with Hope Arismandez. Hope attends Carpachama Roman Catholic School and teachers love her. She's a great student, definitely one of their favorites. Hope wants to be a teacher when she grows up too. If she's not playing with her dolls or riding her bike, she spends all of her time reading. She's the baby. She's the youngest of 4 siblings. In 2008, Hope's parents were no longer together. However, her father still plays a big role in her life. By now, Sherma, 48 years old, and her 2 youngest children, Kirk, 14, and Hope, 8, live in Chase Village Apartments on UMass Drive, Limehead Road in Chaguanas. Sanel Ali, who is 28 years old, resided there as well. Sherma called him her common-law husband. In order for Trinidad to recognize a common-law marriage, the couple has to be together for no less than 5 years, which meant Sanel had to be in Hope's life since she was at least 3. It's no wonder Hope refers to him as her stepfather. Sanel has a reputation. She should have known. That's what they said. How could she not? That's what they said. Before Sanel moved in that small apartment, he lived by what's referred to as a swamp area in Charlottesville. He has several brothers, and his father died when he was just a very small boy. He has a reputation for assaulting his past girlfriends, and he's known for drinking a bit much and staying high. He's 28, but people change, right? Granted, Sherma is 20 years older than her common-law husband. It isn't illegal. We don't know the reasons why people love and fall in love with each other. They just do. Sherma is a hard-working woman. She balances 2 jobs to maintain her shelter, her children, and her bills. She does get a little help from a neighbor that cares for Hope while she's at work. On May 24th, Saturday evening, Sherma had been at work, her supermarket job. Around 9 p.m., Hope had phoned her mother at work asking her to come home. She's never done anything like that before. She knew that her mother would be home shortly. Hope told her that Sanel was cooking her fried chicken and fries, and they were about to have dinner. When Sherma returned from work, the apartment was empty. Where was Sanel and her daughter? She went to the neighbors. Hope wasn't there either. Sherma was informed that Sanel had come around 5 p.m. and picked Hope up. Sanel would arrive seconds later. He had told Sherma that he had gassed up his truck, had a few beers, and the last time that he had seen Hope, she was with the neighbor. Did Sanel not know that the neighbor and Sherma had already spoken, and that Sherma knew that Hope was not in his care? Did he also know that Hope had called and told her mother that Sanel was making her a chicken dinner? This was confusing. Something wasn't right. Where is Hope? Freeport police were called. Hope is missing. A search started quickly with family members, friends, and the police. Officials would ask family members questions and the neighbors. Anyone who was the last people to have seen Hope. Sherma would tell the police she was working. Hope had called and her stepfather was preparing dinner. She either asked her mother to come home or was asking her when she was coming home. If you have young children, and if you remember when you were young, it's done all the time. It wasn't noted if Hope sounded scared, agitated, angry, or sad. I imagined she was fine. She was about to eat and her mother would be home shortly. She would tell the police. The neighbor who cared for her child said Sanel had came to get her. Sanel explained to the police the same way he explained to Sherma. He gassed up his truck, had a few beers, and came home. The last time he'd seen Hope, she was with a neighbor. I think Sherma have doubted his role in his daughter's disappearance. She knew right away, saying, quote, "She was in your care," end quote. The police would speak with the neighbor, who then repeated herself, telling them that Sanel came and picked up the little girl around 5 p.m. She said, "I blame him. She was in his care." She added how Sanel drinks to excess and is always high. The police would speak with Hope Arismandez, 58. He explained the last time he had seen his daughter, it was a few days ago. They had gone to KFC for lunch. He told police that him and his daughter, they have a great relationship. He felt if anyone was bothering or interfering in her life, he believes that she would confide in him. He said, quote, "My daughter knows what she's about, and she's very intelligent, she's aware, and she knows what's around her," end quote. He added she was taught to know how to be treated by anyone, whether it was a man or a woman. Ronald stated Hope hadn't given him any signs that something was wrong. He believes she was alive and somewhere. One of the tenants in the building would tell police that she had seen Hope sitting in Sanel's truck. They left around 9 p.m. He had come back alone around 11 p.m. She had wished that they would find her soon. Hope is a nice, sweet girl, the neighbor said. Hours had gone. Hope was still not home. Sherma had went to her church to pray for the safe return of her daughter. Sunday morning, Sanel was brought to Freeport police where he was interrogated. He stood by the same answering he said the last night. The story of getting gas and drinking beers. 5 days, and Hope was still missing. On the 5th day, May 27th, police would question and interrogate Sanel once more. Police knew that he had picked up Hope, he cooked for Hope, he left the apartment with Hope, and at 9 p.m., and then he came back at 11 p.m. without Hope. This was all witnessed by a neighbor. Sanel would lie some more. He told different stories, then he finally decided to confess. The police had his interrogation recorded. Quote, I had been drinking. It caused me to have lustful feelings. I tricked Hope into getting in the truck. End quote. He would tell Hope that they were going for a ride. The two ended up riding to a cane field at Village of Petersfield in Charlottesville. He tried to get Hope to have sex with him willingly. He didn't realize his plan was not going to work. Hope fought. She was fighting him inside his truck. He had pushed her out of it and she tried to run away from him. He caught up with her, he grabbed her, he beat her, he ripped her shorts and underwear off, he raped her. She fought until the end. He knew that she would tell when they got back to the apartment. He had to kill her. He stabbed her in the back of her head with a knife. He would leave his common-law wife's 8-year-old daughter in a cane field, half naked, dead, only to hide his secret. Snell led police to where Hope's body remained. She was badly decomposed by this time, face down, semi-nude, with only a pink blouse on, her underwear and pants only a few feet away. She had a stab wound to her head, even stab wounds by her anus. Her throat was cut. She had been bludgeoned repeatedly in the head. The police report would read. Hope's body had been so badly decomposed during the autopsy that they couldn't detect if she had been sexually assaulted. It was noted she died from the bashing to her skull. Only her throat had been slit after she was already dead. She died a very agonizing death. When this information was presented to the public, they felt like he had been doing this all along. Look at the rage. Look at the rage he had towards this child. On the contrary, I believe it was the first time. Oh, he had thought about it many times. But that night, he acted on it. She was going to tell her mother. Perhaps Sherma would put him out. He may have even went to jail. He had to quiet her, even if it was forever. Snell begged for the police to shoot him right there. Instead, the handcuffs were placed on him and he was arrested for the murder of 8-year-old Hope Arismandez. Hope's death traveled fast throughout Trinidad. Hope's parents were devastated. It would be her father and her older sister Stacy who would be the one to ID the little girl's body. She put up a fight to save her life, but Snell Ali had evil intent. There was no hope, no more. The residents of the community lined up at the police station to see Snell Ali, the child predator. What else can he be called? He drank a few beers and lusted for an 8-year-old child who had trusted him, called him her stepfather. He preyed on her that night. He probably had been preying on her longer than that. Snell was transported to Reman Yard Golden Grove Prison. He showed up in a white SUV with heavy black tint on it. The public still knew it was him. He walked with his head down, barely making eye contact with everyone. The crowd shouted they wanted him dead, that he would pay for what he had done. Inmates refused to sit with him. They threatened to kill him. He was brought to number 7 cell, located on the top security block. He was stripped of everything but his shorts and relieved of his belt. He had threatened to take his life. He was placed on suicide watch. The guards would periodically check in on him. They were told if anything happened to him, they are responsible. Sharma had came to the jail to see Sunil, the young man she referred to as her common-law husband, in the past. Was she still feeling that way now? I don't know. She told him that he wanted to end his life. I always wondered about this. Why did she go? What was the conversation between them two? Did he apologize? Did he explain why? Did she tell him to rot in hell and spit in his face? Was she just there for closure? What more can be said? But only Sharma knows that. Hope's funeral was now being prepared. While Sunil was in court on May 29th, he still refused to change, wearing the same thing he had on when he was arrested days earlier. He would have a second court date on June 9th. Back in the number 7 cell, the guard took a look at him around 6:30 p.m. He was by himself. Other inmates had been mocking him all day, but he was alone now. Just 10 minutes later, he would end it all. An inmate in an adjacent cell had seen Sunil afterwards. There was blood all over him, the inmate said. Sunil had managed to slash both his wrists and throat and used a bedsheet for the encore. Prison officials were called in. Where did Sunil get the razor? The prisoner commissioner responded, he was supposed to be protected, not injured. Rumor has it Sharma was watching the news and found out that Sunil Ali had taken his life. She fainted. Hours before Hope's burial, Sunil's body was taken to the forensic lab for autopsy, in the same clothes he had been arrested in. He then would go to a Muslim funeral home where his grieving mother awaited him. She only asked for the burial site not to be listed in public for fear her son's grave would be vandalized. Stacy said, quote, "It's shocking. I feel good that he hanged himself. I'm glad that that monster won't be in society to hurt anyone else. I believe that when he killed himself, we got justice. But he got the easy way out. He should have stayed in jail and suffer, like the way he made my little sister suffer." End quote. Casket closed. Services were held at Mary Roman Catholic Church. Her remains were cremated. Hope Arismandez was laid to rest May 31st, 2008. Only question I have is, how does one man cut himself 3 times, tie himself, and die? However it happened, it appears it worked out for a lot of people. Sharma Rajun sits at St. Mary RC Church in Karapachama, where her daughter's ashes lay. She goes there about 3 times a week. She says that it brings her comfort. It makes her feel like Hope's alive. She prays over her grave, and she tells her not to worry, that she's with God now. She talks about the happy moments and the sad moments that they share together. The church is having an interfaith service for her birthday. That would be tomorrow. She says Hope wanted a big dollhouse and a big party for her 9th birthday. Even with 2 jobs, she couldn't afford that. But Hope got 2 dolls. She put them right in her room. She knew if she was here, she would have welcomed them with open arms. As the tears would fall from her eyes, she says her life has been turned upside down. Quote, "Why did this happen to me? Everywhere I turn, there's too many memories to bear." End quote. I feel for her, especially if she is still in that space. Even now, for her circumstances, I feel for her. But it didn't happen to her. It happened to Hope. Hope was the one who never got to see 9, whose life was cut short. It has affected her mother. It has affected Hope Arismandez. It has affected her siblings and her friends and anyone who loved and cared for her. They have been affected. Rest in peace, Hope.